Good morning. I hope everyone had a happy Easter. Today, what we are going to talk about is inverse functions. This is actually what we're going to cover all week. Your assignments will be posted on Edsby, and there will be a quiz towards the end of the week. So inverse functions. Inverse functions are functions that reverse one another. If we graph two inverse functions, we should see that they are flipped or reflected. We're going to get to the graphing tomorrow, but for right now, let's just talk about how we would find an inverse function. So to find an inverse function, you flip the x and y. So for instance, if our domain of one function is -6, -2, -1, and 0, and our range is -2, 2, 4, and 8. To do the inverse, we would flip our x and y. They are just going to change places. So the domain will be -2, 2, 4, and 8, and the range will be -6, -2, -1, and 0. Again, the x and y just change places. And when you graph these, you will see that they are reflected when you look at them compared to one another. They are reflected about the y equals x line. So if you're just given domain and range, it's pretty easy to find the inverse because you are just going to flip the domain and range. If we are actually given an equation though, so if we are given the equation y equals 3x plus 5. So y equals 3x plus 5. If we want to find the inverse, the first thing you're going to do is change either y or f of x, because you know that those both mean the same thing. So you're going to change y or f of x, and then you're going to change them to x. So you are going to flip-flop the x and y. You are also going to change the change the x to y. Once we do that, it becomes everyone's favorite, a literal equation. Then step 3, you're going to solve for y. And step 4, we are going to rewrite as f to the -1. And the reason we do that is that -1 in the exponent lets us know that it is the inverse, and that's how we're going to tell. So let's go back to the problem I just told you we were going to do. And if the notes are going too fast for you, please pause it if you want to get all those down. So step 1, we are going to change y to x. So we are going to flip our x and y. So we're going to have x equals 3y plus 5. And again, the only thing I did in step 1 is I flip-flopped my x and y. Then it's now a literal equation, and I need to solve for y. So this next part is solving for y. So x equals 3y plus 5. Remember, if we're solving for y, this is what we want to get by itself. The furthest thing away on the same side as the y is this 5. So we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. That's going to give us x minus 5 equals 3y. Hopefully you notice that the y is still not by itself. So to get the y by itself, we have to move that 3. To move the 3, we are going to divide both sides by 3. On the right, those 3's are going to cancel, and we are going to be left with x minus 5 over 3 equals y. Now, all of you, I am certain, remember that that's the same thing as saying y equals x minus 5 over 3. But we need to do the last step. And to denote that this is an inverse, we are going to write it as f with the -1 and x. What this is telling everyone is that is our inverse. So we're going to put that as x minus 5 over 3, and there you go. That is how you find the inverse of functions. Of course, there is a little bit more to it, but we'll deal with that tomorrow. The only other thing I want to show you right now, if the equation, the original equation that you start with is written as f of x equals 3x plus 5, we know that f of x is y, so you're going to have y equals 3x plus 5, and from there you go on with the other steps, which is to change your x and y values and then solve for y. If you have any other questions, I will be Zooming today, and feel free to join us. I hope you guys have a great day, and your assignment will be on Edsby.